So, what one of the things so that I think is really, um, I don't want to get too much. I don't want to read too much into it, but I don't think you can ignore it either. The Democrats had a very impressive win in New Mexico for Deb Haaland's old seat this past week. And evidently, this woman outperformed both Deb Haaland, who I think won by 16%, and I think Biden won by like 23 or 26%, and this woman outperformed her. How do you look at that race? Do you what and I know you've been paying a lot of attention to numbers and a lot of things. So, based upon what you have read others say, and also the wisdom that you've acquired now, setting stuff, what is your takeaway from the victory in New Mexico this past week?
It's interesting because during the height of the election season, I was probably following like 5, 6 pollsters every day, checking their stuff in the middle of the night, in the middle, you know what I mean? And it's interesting because they kind of disappear until more stuff happens, and then they all kind of popped up when this happened. From what I read, you can't, the special elections aren't that predictive. So that's the first thing that they were kind of basing it off. The only thing that they were kind of saying, and something that we could take to heart, is Democrats don't usually pay attention to the off years and the off races. So the fact that she outperformed, you're right. I think 16, and then Biden won by 20, and she won by, I think, 24 or 25. So she outpaced both her predecessor and Biden. So I think what we could take from it simply is that the Democrats are paying attention and were involved when we normally probably wouldn't be. Also, New Mexico, Arizona showed us a lot this past election cycle. They have a lot of organizers on the ground there. Reminds me a lot of Georgia and other places where they really hit boots to the ground and they really got out there. So, um, as far as the polls and stuff, again, they said it's not too predictive. It's a good sign, but it's also nothing that you can't hang your hat on. I think the good sign is that we just showed up and we did what we had to do.
Do we know where was turnout? Turnout probably definitely didn't match presidential race, but was turnout better or it's what they expected, worse than they expected, or better than they expected? Do we know
I
how turnout
honestly
was?
didn't read anything about it. It might have been just too early, yeah. But it's an interesting question, yeah.
It's but I do think though what it does to it's weird. I do think that there's always something to learn, and I think that what happens, especially in the media space, is that they either over attribute or under attribute, meaning there is a valuable lesson to learn. What can be learned? Is this a trend or what have you? And I sometimes think that they overstate the trend to where then they make it to where it really undermines their credibility. Or sometimes there's a trend emerging, but they're going to say, "Well, I don't see anything. This means nothing," and then there is a trend. So I, I I would love to know more about how that worked. I do know that with the team I work with, we were encouraged to start pushing and pumping up the Democratic candidate in the last weekend. We had some folks who were very interested in potentially phone banking. I think that one of the challenges, even with special elections, um, is what is it? Do you know numbers? What only maybe 38 swing districts in the country? It's a very small
Yeah.
amount of swing districts.
Yeah.
So realistically, I think and I'm not sure how blue Deb Haaland's seat was, but I think that the special elections that really matter or make a difference would be the ones. Say if there was ever a special election in say Sean Castan's district or Lauren Underwood's district. That's like the Connor Lamb. Connor Lamb, I think in Pennsylvania, I think he went in a special election, and I think he flipped a seat. I think that special elections and swing districts probably are better indicators of some energy or lack of energy than just keeping a red seat red or a blue seat blue.